I'll never forget the exact moment the room turned on me. It was my wife's family gathering. One of those loud, overfed Saturday nights where everyone crowds into her sister's living room with paper plates and cheap wine, laughing too loud at jokes that aren't funny. I've always been the quiet one in her family's eyes. Steady, predictable. The guy who shows up, helps set up chairs, fixes the loose cabinet hinge, then stands in a corner sipping whatever drink someone hands me. And for years, that was fine. But that night, something shifted. Or maybe the shift had started long before, and I was just too blind to notice. The evening was already tense between me and Lisa. She'd been working late again all week, claiming a new project had swallowed her hours. The usual signs had been creeping in. The guarded phone, the extra effort with her makeup, the sudden interest in that cologne-scented coworker she called just a friend. I tried not to jump to conclusions. I tried to be understanding. I tried to trust. But trust is a fragile thing. One careless moment and it starts to splinter. When we arrived at her sister's house, Lisa was in one of her moods. Too bright, too loud, too flirtatious with attention not meant for her. She floated from group to group like she was trying to convince everyone, including herself, that everything was perfect. Meanwhile, she barely looked at me. It was around dessert when it happened. Her cousin made some harmless joke about relationships, something about trust issues, and Lisa jumped on it like a springboard. She stood up, wine glass raised, and in front of 30 people said, "Oh, please, if anyone here knows what it's like to live with a paranoid husband, it's me. He thinks every late shift means I'm out kissing somebody." She threw her head back and laughed. Loud, artificial. A few others chuckled, not because it was funny, but because people laugh when they're unsure what else to do. Then she looked straight at me, right at me, with that smirk she gets when she thinks she's untouchable. And she said, "I'll kiss whoever I want. He doesn't own me. Maybe if he acted like a man, he wouldn't worry so much." The room erupted into uncomfortable laughter. Someone muttered, "Wow." Another whistled low. Her brother slapped the table. Her mother blushed. And me? I just sat there, feeling the blood rush to my ears, my chest tightening like a fist. Not because she insulted me, not because she mocked me, but because in that moment, she didn't just disrespect me. She enjoyed it. She wanted the crowd on her side. She wanted to humiliate me publicly. Years of small digs and quiet dismissals suddenly linked together like puzzle pieces, forming a picture I'd been refusing to see. Everyone stared, waiting for my reaction, waiting for me to crack, to shout, to storm out. Lisa especially. She was watching me the way someone watches a lit firework, anticipating the explosion. But I didn't explode. I didn't say a word. Instead, I reached slowly into my pocket and pulled out my phone. My hands were steady, my breath controlled. I tapped the screen, scrolled for a moment, and then said in a level voice that cut through the chatter, "You're right, Lisa. You can kiss whoever you want. But maybe the rest of the family deserves to know who that is." Her smile faltered. She blinked. "What are you talking about?" "Just a little something from last night," I said, pressing play. The Bluetooth speaker in the corner, still connected from the earlier playlist, picked up instantly, and the room filled with the crisp sound of our front door camera footage. Footsteps on the porch, the faint shuffle of someone approaching, then Lisa's unmistakable voice whispering, "I had a great time tonight." A man answered, low, and then the sound of lips meeting, long, deliberate, intimate. The room went silent. Dead. Silent. Lisa's wine glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the carpet. And before the next moment unfolded, before anyone dared breathe, before the truth hit the room like a brick, I'll pause here. Because what happened next, that's the part no one in that house will ever forget. If you want to hear the full story, stay with me. There's a lot more you need to know. The sound of that kiss echoing through the living room felt unreal, like it came from somewhere outside my body. For a second, nobody moved. Not Lisa, not her family, not even me. It was as if the entire house took one long collective inhale and forgot how to exhale. In that frozen moment, all I could see was her face. Eyes wide, pupils shrinking, mouth parted like she'd just been slapped. Her skin drained of color so fast I thought she might faint. She didn't look angry, not yet anyway. She looked caught, exposed. and terrified that the mask she'd been wearing for months finally cracked in front of an audience she never wanted to disappoint. Her sister was the first to make a sound, a sharp gasp, hand flying to her chest. Then her mother muttered, "Lisa, please tell me this isn't." But she couldn't finish her sentence. She didn't need to. The air had already changed. Every sympathetic chuckle she earned just minutes earlier curdled into something sour and heavy. Lisa snapped out of her shock and lunged toward me, snatching at my phone like she could claw the evidence out of existence. "Turn it off," she hissed, her voice jagged. "Why would you play that? What the hell is wrong with you?" I pulled my hand away, calm as ever. "You humiliated me first," I said quietly. "Thought we should level the field." "You're insane," she spat, voice rising. "You recorded me? That's creepy." "It was the door cam. I cut in. The one you insisted we keep armed because you said the neighborhood felt unsafe. Turns out the biggest threat wasn't outside." That line hit her harder than the audio. She froze, realizing she had walked straight into a truth she couldn't twist. The room shifted again. Her uncle stood from his chair, sighed heavily, and rubbed his forehead like he was watching a slow-motion train wreck he wished he could unsee. Her brother, a guy who always treated me like background furniture, stepped closer, jaw tight, eyes flicking between me and Lisa like he was doing silent math. Her mother sat down hard on the couch, whispering a prayer under her breath. Lisa tried again, quieter this time. "It's not what it sounds like." I looked at her, really looked at her. The same woman I married because she used to laugh softly, hold my hand at the grocery store, wake up early just to talk to me over bad coffee. Now she stood trembling, hair curled perfectly, makeup flawless, but nothing about her looked put together. She looked like a stranger who had stepped into my wife's skin and stretched it until the seams burst. "Then explain it," I said. "Explain the kiss. Explain the late nights. Explain the sudden secrecy. Explain why I had to hear it through a speaker in front of your entire family." She opened her mouth, then closed it. She glanced around the room, like maybe someone would bail her out. But no one moved. Even the cousins who usually backed her in every argument sat still, waiting, watching. Her audience had turned into witnesses. "Finally," she whispered. "It was just a moment. It didn't mean anything." Her brother snorted. "Didn't sound like nothing to me." Lisa spun toward him. "Stay out of this, Mark." He held up his hands. "You made it everyone's business when you started broadcasting your marriage problems like stand-up comedy. And now this? Come on." She turned back to me, desperation seeping into her voice. "We can talk about this privately. Please, not here." "You chose here," I said. "You chose the crowd, not me." Her lips trembled. "I was joking. I was trying to be funny. You don't joke about kissing other people unless you're already doing it." Her jaw tightened, a spark of anger returning as she searched for something, anything, to blame besides herself. And I could see the calculation forming in her eyes, the one where she tries to flip the narrative and paint me as controlling, jealous, or insecure. She'd always been good at twisting words. But this time, the truth wasn't abstract. It was recorded. It was undeniable. And it had played through a speaker loud enough for the entire neighborhood to hear. Before she could launch her defense, her brother-in-law, quiet, steady, usually too polite to say more than a few sentences in a night, stood up. Everyone turned to look at him, including Lisa. He cleared his throat and said, "You deserve the truth, man." His voice was low, heavy. "We've all suspected something. Nobody wanted to be the one to say it. But now," he looked at Lisa, disappointment etched deep across his face. "Now it's out." Lisa's breath hitched. "You're taking his side?" "This isn't about sides," he said. "It's about respect." And with those words, the last of her defenses crumbled. She sank onto the edge of a chair, hands covering her face, shoulders shaking. But I didn't move toward her. Not because I didn't feel anything, but because I felt too much. Hurt, anger, betrayal that wrapped around my ribs like cold iron. The silence grew unbearable. Someone turned off the music that had been playing quietly in the background. A wine bottle clinked as her aunt set it down too hard. Chairs creaked. And Lisa finally looked up at me, eyes swollen, and whispered, Can we please talk somewhere else? Just you and me. I stared at her, thinking about everything I'd swallowed over the past months. Every excuse, every lie, every night spent alone wondering why my marriage felt like an empty room with her on the other side of the door. I knew that conversation was coming, but not yet, not here, not while the truth still hung in the air like smoke that hadn't settled. I nodded slowly. We'll talk, but not the way you expect. She blinked. What does that mean? It means this isn't over, I said. Not by a long shot. Her face twisted with fear and confusion. And as the family watched, breathless and uneasy, I stood up from my chair. When I stood up from that chair, the room shifted again. Not with noise this time, but with a thick, uneasy silence that followed me all the way to the hallway. Lisa scrambled up after me, nearly tripping over the shards of her broken wine glass. She whispered my name like she was afraid to say it too loud, like a louder tone might shatter whatever chance she believed she still had. I didn't turn around. I walked toward her sister's small guest room at the end of the hall, and I could feel 30 pairs of eyes burning into my back, the weight of the moment heavier than anything I'd carried in a long time. When I stepped inside, I didn't close the door fully. I wanted it cracked. I wanted the family to hear enough to know this wasn't some melodramatic whisper fight they could write off later. Lisa slipped in behind me, shut the door halfway, and leaned against it like she needed support just to stay upright. Please, she said, voice brittle. Please, let me explain. I sat down on the edge of the bed, elbows on my knees, hands clasped. Then explain. She took a deep breath, wiped her nose, and began pacing in small, frantic steps. I've been stressed. Work has been insane. You've been distant lately. I felt unappreciated, unwanted. Stop, I said without raising my voice. Don't turn this into something I caused. She froze. I'm not blaming you. You just did. She pressed her lips together, eyes darting around the room as if the right answer might be hiding behind the dresser. She walked closer, tentatively, as if approaching a wild animal she wasn't sure would bite. It was one night, she whispered. I had too much wine after work. He offered me a ride home. I made a mistake. You kissed him on our porch, I said. That wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thing in a bar or an office hallway. That was at our doorstep. She flinched. That detail hit her harder than the audio itself. I know, she murmured. I know. I'm so sorry. Are you? I looked at her. Really looked. Or are you sorry you got caught? Her eyes filled again, and she sank down onto the bed beside me, leaving a careful 2-foot gap, as if she knew I wouldn't tolerate her pretending things were normal. I never wanted to hurt you, she said. I swear. Things between us have drifted. You don't talk to me like you used to. You don't? I turned my head slowly toward her. Lisa, don't do this. Don't rewrite history to make yourself feel better. She swallowed hard. Her next words were quiet, almost childlike. I felt invisible. And kissing someone else made you feel seen? She broke then, jaw trembling, hands shaking, tears spilling over. She covered her face and sobbed, muffled and desperate, like she wanted her crying to fix something that couldn't be fixed by tears alone. I didn't touch her. I didn't pull her close. I didn't tell her it would be okay. I just sat there and watched the woman I once knew crumble under the reality she'd built. After a long minute, she dropped her hands and looked at me with an intensity one hadn't seen in years. Tell me what you want, she said. Tell me what I'm supposed to do. I'll fix this. I'll do anything. I stood up slowly. My body felt too heavy, too used up. You can't fix something you enjoyed breaking. Her mouth fell open. I didn't enjoy. You humiliated me in front of your family, I said. And you meant it. You liked the attention. You liked the laughs. You liked the power. You thought mocking me made you look bold, independent. I shook my head. But really, it made you look guilty and unstable. She looked genuinely stunned by that. Unstable? You wanted to be seen as strong. Instead, you showed everyone how weak you've become. That hit her harder than anything else I'd said. Her face collapsed into a wounded expression, one that suddenly made her look 10 years younger and painfully lost. She reached for my wrist, but I stepped back before she could touch me. "Don't," I said. She froze mid-reach. Slowly, her hand dropped. Her breathing turned shallow, uneven. "Are you leaving me?" she whispered. "I'm thinking." She closed her eyes, exhaling shakily. "Please don't say that. Please don't say you're done. We have good years behind us. We can have good years ahead. I messed up. I know that. But you're my husband. You're supposed to fight for us." "I did," I said. "For months. Alone." She pressed her fingers to her mouth, panic rising again. "I'll cut him off. I'll change my number. I'll quit my job if I have to. You think this is about logistics? About rearranging your schedule?" I said, shaking my head. "This is about trust. About respect. About the fact that you didn't just cheat. You lied to me, mocked me, and then weaponized your family to make yourself feel better." She stared at me like she'd just realized the gravity of her choices for the first time. "Let me ask you something," I said. "If I hadn't played that video, would you have told me the truth?" Her silence was the only answer I needed. Finally, she whispered, "I don't know." I nodded, slow and deliberate. "Exactly." As I walked toward the door, she jumped to her feet, fear flooding her voice. "Where are you going?" "To finish this conversation." "With who?" she asked, voice cracking. "With everyone." Her face drained again. "No, please. Please don't do that. Don't embarrass me like that." I paused at the doorway, turning back to her. "Funny. That's exactly what you did to me." And without waiting for another excuse, another apology, another trembling attempt to fix what she had shattered with her own hands, I stepped back into the hallway. The family was still gathered, still silent, still watching. They straightened the moment they saw me. Some looked apologetic. Some looked angry. At her, not at me. Some just looked exhausted. What they didn't know was that things were about to get even more uncomfortable, because the truth wasn't finished. The fallout hadn't even begun. And everything that happened next, well, no one in that house was prepared for it. When I stepped back into the living room, the air felt heavier than before, like the truth itself had weight and everyone could feel it pressing down on them. Lisa followed a few seconds later, her face pale and blotchy, eyes red, hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. She looked smaller somehow, like someone had drained all the bravado out of her and left only fear behind. Her family pretended not to stare, but their eyes tracked her as if waiting for the next explosion. I didn't sit down. I stood near the center of the room, and the moment I did, every conversation, every whisper, every half-breath stopped. Even the kids in the corner grew quiet, sensing the tension even if they didn't understand it. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "There's more," I said. A long, brittle silence followed. Lisa shook her head almost imperceptibly, her bottom lip trembling. Her sister shifted uncomfortably on the couch, rubbing her hands together. Her mother pinched the bridge of her nose. Her brother leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Bracing himself, I held up my phone. "I'm not going to play anything else. You don't need more audio. You've heard enough." I paused, letting that land. "But I need you all to understand something clearly. What happened tonight didn't start tonight. This wasn't a moment of weakness or some random slip-up she's trying to paint it as. It's been happening for a while." Lisa choked on a breath. "No, it hasn't," she cried, stepping toward me. "That's not true. I swear, it was just once." Her brother-in-law looked at her sharply. "Lisa, don't lie again." She whipped toward him. "I'm not lying. It was one mistake." Her sister shook her head slowly, eyes full of sad recognition. "You've been off for months. We all noticed." Lisa's jaw dropped. "You noticed? Then why didn't you say anything?" Her sister shrugged helplessly. "Because you get defensive anytime someone even asks if you're okay. You shut people out. And now," she gestured vaguely at me, at the phone, at the entire situation. "Now it makes sense." Lisa covered her mouth with both hands, looking like she was about to break apart. "You're all making this worse," she whispered. "None of you know what's going on inside my marriage." "That's the problem," I said. "You didn't want anyone to know. You wanted to look perfect while I slowly lost my mind wondering what I did wrong. Her mother looked at me, voice gentle. Son, what do you need from us? I'm not here to turn you against her, I said. I'm here because she dragged our marriage into this room long before I did. She used you as props to humiliate me. So now you're going to hear the rest. Lisa's breathing grew shallow. She shook her head again and again. Please, please don't do this. I ignored her and continued. The late nights weren't one-time incidents. The secrecy wasn't new. The constant defensiveness, the snide comments, the way she shut down any attempt to talk about our relationship. It all pointed to something. And I tried. God knows I tried. To believe she was just stressed or tired or overwhelmed with work. Her uncle cleared his throat, uncomfortable but listening. The cousins leaned in slightly. Even the kids pretended not to listen but stayed frozen, sensing that something important was happening. Last night, I said, wasn't some drunken accident. You don't accidentally bring someone to your porch. You don't accidentally whisper to him like that. You don't accidentally kiss him multiple times. The word multiple made Lisa flinch so violently her mother reached out in reflex. But Lisa jerked away, arms wrapped around herself like she was freezing. That's a lie, she whispered. It wasn't multiple times. I turned my head slightly and met her eyes. I watched the footage, all of it. Her knees buckled, and she sat down before she fell down. Her hands covered her face again, and her shoulders shook. She made no sound. No sobbing, no wailing. Just silent, gutted crying that twisted something in me I didn't want twisted anymore. Her brother-in-law exhaled slowly, shaking his head. Lisa, what were you thinking? She didn't answer. Couldn't. She looked like someone who'd been hollowed out. Her brother looked at me. What do you want us to do? How can we help? I ran a hand through my hair. I don't need sides or sympathy. I just need the truth to be acknowledged. Not dismissed, not brushed aside, not turned into another joke. At that, Lisa looked up sharply. I wasn't trying to joke. I was scared, and I was trying to cover it. You humiliated me, I said. You made fun of me. You made me into a punchline. I didn't mean to, she cried. But you did, and you liked the reaction. She fell silent again. Shoulders shaking, her mother spoke, voice trembling. Lisa, honey, you can't treat your marriage like entertainment. This is serious. Her sister nodded. Really serious. The family murmured their agreement in quiet, uncomfortable waves. Some whispered things to each other. Others shifted restlessly on their seats. They weren't angry at me. They were disappointed in her. And that was something Lisa had never expected. Her family had always adored her, put her on a pedestal, assumed she could do no wrong. Seeing that pedestal wobble shook her harder than anything I could have said. Finally, Lisa stood. She wiped her face with trembling hands and looked at me, then at her family, her voice low but steadying. I know I screwed up. I know I lied. I know I hurt you. She paused, swallowing hard. But I still love my husband, and I want my marriage. I want to fix this. I want to work on us. I stared at her, but part of her speech felt rehearsed, like she'd read it off some invisible cue card. It wasn't that she didn't mean the words. It was that she didn't fully grasp the damage yet. Her brother-in-law broke the silence. Words won't fix this, Lisa. Only honesty will. Lisa nodded. Then ask me anything. I'll tell the truth now. Her sister leaned forward, voice cautious. Is it over with him? Lisa hesitated. It was slight, maybe less than a second, but everyone saw it. Everyone. Lisa? Her sister repeated. Is it over? Lisa closed her eyes, exhaled, and whispered, yes. Too soft, too unsure, too late. Her brother stood abruptly, chair scraping the floor. I'm sorry, he said, looking at me. But I don't believe her. Lisa gasped. Mark, he shrugged. If it was over, you wouldn't have hesitated. And if it was over, you wouldn't have mocked your husband tonight. People don't brag when they're ashamed. She turned to me then, desperate. It is over, I swear. Please believe me. But the truth was That hesitation had told me more than any promise she could ever give. And the room knew it. Her family knew it. She knew it. Her eyes filled again. Not the tears of guilt this time, but the tears of someone realizing their words had lost all power. That I exhaled slowly, steadying myself. "I'm leaving," I said finally. Lisa stiffened. "Just tonight, right? You mean you're stepping out for air?" I shook my head. "No, I'm leaving this house. I need space. I need clarity. And I can't get either here." She stumbled toward me. "Please, please don't walk out like this. Not with everyone watching." "That's how you started this," I said. Publicly, loudly. "You wanted an audience." A strangled noise escaped her throat. "I didn't want." "You did," I said. "And now you're afraid of the same stage you built." Her family was silent, watching the pieces fall exactly the way she had pushed them. "I'm leaving?" I repeated. She reached for my arm, her voice cracking into a desperate whisper. "Please, don't leave me." But this time I stepped away. And with every eye in the room following me, every breath held, every heartbeat suspended, I walked toward the front door. Because the moment I stepped through it, the real fallout and the truth of who we were now would begin. The moment my hand touched the front door handle, the world behind me felt like it was collapsing. Not in a dramatic, explosive way, but in a slow, suffocating unraveling, like threads pulled from a sweater until nothing recognizable remained. The air inside the house crackled with tension. I could feel Lisa's panic at my back before I even heard her footsteps. Her family sat frozen, no one daring to move, no one willing to interrupt the moment they all knew was about to become the dividing line in our marriage. When I stepped outside, the cold night hit me like a slap. October air, sharp and metallic, rushed into my lungs, clearing away the fog of the confrontation. I walked toward the driveway, each step heavy but certain. Behind me, the door creaked open again, and Lisa followed, barefoot on the concrete, clutching herself like she was freezing. "Don't go," she whispered, voice shaking. "Please, please don't go." I didn't turn around right away. I needed a second, just 1 second, to protect the tiny sliver of calm I had left. When I finally looked back, she was standing under the porch light, her blonde hair tangled, mascara streaking down her cheeks, her red dress wrinkled and clinging to her like a reminder of the arrogance she had worn earlier. "You're leaving me," she said, and it wasn't a question. It was a realization hitting her like a wave she couldn't outrun. "I'm leaving the house," I said evenly. "I need space." "You don't need space," she pleaded, stepping closer. "You're hurt. You're angry. I get it. But you don't fix a marriage by walking away." I shook my head slowly. "You don't break a marriage by accident." She flinched as if the words were physical blows. "I told you it was a mistake. And I told you mistakes don't happen repeatedly, or in secret, or on porches captured by cameras you forgot existed." She covered her mouth, sobbing again. "I can't lose you," she whispered between breaths. I can't lose my husband." "You lost me the night you laughed at me," I said. Tonight was the confirmation. She looked like she couldn't breathe. She reached for my jacket sleeve, but I stepped back, and for the first time that night, she seemed to truly understand that I wasn't just reacting. I was deciding. Slowly, deliberately, without rage, without theatrics, without the kind of reckless emotion she'd always accused me of lacking. Her mother appeared in the doorway behind her, eyes swollen from crying. She clasped her hands together and whispered, "Please, at least sleep on it. Don't make any final decisions tonight." I appreciated her intention, but she didn't understand something crucial. I wasn't acting out of emotion. I was acting out of clarity. Pain brings clarity like little else does. "I'm not filing for anything tonight," I said. "But I'm not staying here." Lisa staggered forward another step. "Tell me what you need me to do. I'll do anything. Therapy, couples counseling. I'll switch departments. I'll block him. I'll quit. It's not about action," I said, my voice low. "It's about truth, and trust, and respect. You shattered all three." She squeezed her eyes shut, tears spilling down her face, shaking her head like she was trying to shake reality loose. "I love you," she whispered. "I've always loved you. You didn't love me tonight, I said. You loved the attention. Her face twisted, devastated. That's not true. It is, I said quietly. And you know it. The cold wind swept between us again, rustling the leaves on the ground, carrying the faint smell of her sister's backyard grill. For a moment, everything was still. Two people standing at the edge of something neither of us ever expected to reach. She broke the silence first. What happens now? I go, I said. You stay. And you think about who you really want to be when the audience isn't laughing with you. She covered her face again, shoulders shaking violently. Please, don't leave like this. I'm not doing this to punish you, I said. I'm doing this because staying tonight would be worse than leaving. The porch light flickered slightly. Her mother stepped back inside, giving us space. The door closed, leaving us alone under the cold glow of the exterior lights. I'll fix this, Lisa whispered again, voice breaking. I swear, I'll fight for us. I looked at her for a long moment, for the woman I once knew, for the life we once wanted, and for the truth we now stood in. I hope you do, I said. But tonight, I'm done fighting alone. She took another step, but I opened the car door and slipped inside before she could reach me. Her palms pressed against the window, her face wet with tears, her breath fogging the glass as she begged, Don't go, don't go, don't go. But the engine started. The headlights cut across the driveway. She stumbled back, hugging herself as if she might fall apart without something to hold on to. I rolled the window down just enough to speak one last time. You wanted independence? I said quietly. Now you have the space to figure out what it actually means. Her sobbing choked into a gasp. Please, I'm begging you. Don't leave me alone tonight. You left me alone months ago, I said. And with that, I rolled the window up. She stood in the cold, trembling, watching as I backed out of the driveway. In the rearview mirror, her figure grew smaller, swallowed by the darkness and porch light, until she was just a silhouette. Shattered and silent, I drove in silence. No music, no thoughts loud enough to cling to, just the hum of the engine and the echo of a life splitting cleanly in two later that night. Alone in a cheap motel room, I finally let myself feel everything I'd held back. The betrayal, the humiliation, the loss, but also a strange, unfamiliar calm. The calm of someone who finally stopped pretending. The calm of someone who finally took control. Tomorrow there would be conversations, hard ones, and decisions that would change everything. But tonight, I just breathed. And as I sat there in that dim motel room, the weight of the world slowly easing off my chest, I reminded myself of one truth. Silence isn't weakness. Sometimes, silence is the loudest answer a man can give. Thank you for listening to my story. If you want to hear more stories like this, make sure to subscribe and stay with me for the next one.